Hi there, my name's Joanna Joy, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about the shamanic healing technique of power retrieval. And sometimes people refer to this as power animal retrieval, but we have many other types of power that don't just show themselves as animals, although that is very often the main way that power can show itself to us when we are receiving messages and gifts of power from spirit. So what is power retrieval? First of all, let's talk about what is power. So when we are referring to power within the shamanic context, we're talking really about life force energy. And lots of different cultures have lots of different terms for life force energy. So in the Far East, it's often referred to as ki or chi. In Indian, Hindu culture, it's referred to as prana. And in shamanic work, we refer to this as power. And power shows up in many different ways to us. But what we really need to ask is, why do we need power? You know, what is this power for? What does it do? Why do we need it? So this life force energy, all of us need it. All of us use it all the time. It's a bit like water in that everybody has to drink water, right? Everybody needs water, but you can't own water. Water's constantly flowing in and out of our bodies all the time. But you can't keep hold of it. It's not something that you can, pin down and put in a box and say, I own this, right? Water is freely available to everybody. Ideally, it should be. And we all need it, right? Power is the same. Life force energy is the same. It's always flowing in and out of us. We need it to function well. It's a bit like having a battery bank topped up with energy. If your battery bank, if your power bank is full of energy, you're going to work at full capacity, you're going to work your best, you're going to be, firing on all cylinders, physically in your body, in your physical health, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Power affects our health in all of those different departments. And so, ideally, we want to have our batteries topped up to full capacity. However, all sorts of things can affect the levels of power that we have. And lots of different things can take power away from us. We can lose power through working very hard, right? We can lose power to people. People can give power to each other. People can also steal power from each other. And we're going to go into more of that in the next video in relation to cord cutting. But for the time being, it's good to understand that power is constantly flowing in and out of us. If we have holes or tears in our auric field, power can drain out. It's a bit like a leaky bucket. If you have a bucket with holes in it, all the water's going to flow out, right? So ideally, we want our energy field to be whole, with no holes in it, no tears, no, areas where the power can leak out. And so, because we want to keep the power in our system as much as possible. Yes, we will use it. Of course we do. Every day when we are working and playing and doing the things that we need to do in life, we're using the power that's in our battery banks. But if it's leaking out all over the place, gushing onto the floor, we're not going to have anything left for us to actually use for what we need it for on a day-to-day basis. So some good examples of extreme power loss are when people are experiencing symptoms of chronic fatigue, for example. It's very easy if people work so hard and don't take time to rest and recuperate and regenerate and recharge, to sizzle your entire energy system. So, people who are extremely low on power will often experience symptoms like chronic fatigue or any kind of chronic or acute issues in their physiological health or emotional health or mental health. Low power can affect all of those different things. And toxic relationships, wow, those are a big one for stealing power from us, stealing energy. How many times have you sat with somebody, a friend, a co-worker, member of your family, and they've laid a whole pile of problems out on the table and you leave that situation feeling absolutely wiped out drained or with a headache or something like that, you know, that's because all of your power has drained out to that person that you've just been talking to. So there's all sorts of different ways that we can lose power. Bad luck is another sign of power loss, or you know, low power levels. So the very, very first technique that we learn how to do in shamanic healing work is power retrieval. You know, it's asking for power to be put back into our system. And there is infinite power in the universe. You know, this is such a simple but extremely profound concept, is that we don't have to scrimp for power. We don't have to steal power off each other, because there's unlimited amounts of power in our universe. There's a surplus. It's never going to run out. We just need to learn how to actually access it, and how to request it, how to receive it. And so we can do a power retrieval, which is the request for power. And when we do a power retrieval, very often that power will show up in a symbolic way. Shamanism is a very metaphorical or symbolic practice. You know, spirit speaks to us using symbolism, using the language of symbolism, and it speaks to us using metaphors, and it speaks to us using signs and icons and things that we would recognize, right? So when people do a power retrieval, very often that power will turn up being represented maybe by an animal. So let's take the example of a lion, right? You do a power animal retrieval, you use shamanic journey to request power, and a lion turns up. Well, what do we know about lions, right? They're strong, they're pride creatures, they work in a pack, in a family, in a pride. And, you know, they are traditionally a symbol of courage, of bravery, of quite strong masculine power, particularly the male lions with their big manes. You know, so when we are doing power retrievals, when we receive the power ally, it's not literally that thing. It's not literally a lion. You know, the power is being given to us as a gift of power, and it shows itself as a representation that we're going to understand. So let's take another example. A swan, okay? Swans are birds, so they can fly. They're air creatures, but they're also water creatures, aren't they? They swim in the water. They pair for life. They are monogamous. So swans are very connected to relationships and monogamous relationships, deep loyalty between partners. Swans do beautiful dances when they're courting with each other, and they sing the most heart-wrenching mourning songs when they lose their partners. So swans are very much connected and tied into romantic partnership relationships and monogamous loyal relationships. So that's another, you know, reference for you. If a swan turned up, you know, it's going to be talking about things like that. It's going to be coming to help you in those kind of departments. But it's not always an animal. You may get a power ally showing up as a waterfall, let's say. And water is all about the emotional realm. Water is an element that governs our heart space, our emotional experiences, our love, but also our pain. And very often water comes to cleanse and purify, particularly clearing and cleansing emotional pain, emotional trauma, any kind of negative emotions. It could be fear, it could be jealousy, it could be, anger, right? So whenever we have water coming in, it could be a wave, it could be an ocean, it could be a river, you know, then we know it's going to be relating to the emotional realms. How else might power allies come? They might come as a plant or a tree, let's say. You might do a power ally retrieval, and an oak tree comes, right? And oak trees are renowned for being really strong. You know, there's a lot of strength with oak trees. The first ships in Britain were always built with oak trees. You know, the big galleons. They would always use oak because it's so strong and resistant to rotting, and you know, it does very well in any kind of conditions. It's very resilient. So you know, these are all of the attributes of oak, for example. So different allies can come to bring you different types of power, and they will represent themselves in that way that you will understand, hopefully, what the gift of power is. Okay, and you can do a power retrieval for any aspect of your life. You can ask for help for literally any aspect of your life. You might say, okay, what's something that I might be struggling with? It could be a health issue, right? Maybe you have a cold, right? So you could call for a power ally to come. You could do a power retrieval to boost your immune system. Okay. I once had, let me think of some examples of clients that I've worked with. So I had a lady who was having a lot of problems with her water balance in her body. And when I did a power animal retrieval or power retrieval for her, a camel came, and the camel's gift was all about holding water. Like she was getting very dehydrated, and her water balance was all out of kilter, and she was drinking lots of water, but it wasn't staying in her body. And so the camel came, as an ally. The gift of power there was about water balance. And after the shamanic healing session, she fed back to me a few days later, and she was like, oh, it's much, much better. Now that ally, it's not a real camel, right? It's not even a spirit camel. It's a gift of spiritual healing. It's a gift of power that's going to help her to regulate her body. And it shows itself as a camel so that we understand the gift that it's bringing, the gift of power that's being offered. What other examples can I think of? Tigers, right? Tigers often come as protectors because they're quite fierce, aren't they? Like lots of animals that are tooth and claw predators very often come to protect. They're very often guardians of some kind. So wolves, I have a whole pack of wolves that come as protectors. My tiger as well is a protector. Tigers come often for people who need extra layers of protection in their life. Self-confidence, eagle often flies in to help people who are lacking in self-confidence, or need to feel better about themselves, need a bit of personal oomph in how they feel about themselves. Eagle will often come for that. Sheep comes to kind of wrap us in a big woolly blanket and help us to feel safe and secure and warm. It's kind of like soft protection. It's not tooth and claw protection. It's more gentle. It's kind of wrap you up in a blanket and keep you warm and snuggly kind of protection. What else? Trying to think now. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that power can show itself. And you can ask for literally help in anything, any aspect of your life. And you can call for a power ally, and that ally will come in and boost you in whatever way you need. And ultimately we have to remember that it's about bringing life force energy in that's going to help us to top our batteries up and to regulate us in whatever way we need it. So that's really the first primary technique that we learn in shamanic healing. So if you are interested, if any of what I've said is making you want to dive a little deeper, dig a little deeper, then you can always contact me. I will put my website details in the box below, in the information box. And if you wanted any kind of shamanic healing, then you can book a session if you want. There's a booking link below too. And if you are interested in learning these techniques for yourself, then I run a Shamanic Practitioner online training 3-year apprenticeship. And that runs every year. We start in September every year. And so if you would like to learn how to do shamanic healing for yourself, for your loved ones, for your community, for the people around you, for the collective, then you can come and learn these techniques for yourself. It is a very powerful spiritual healing toolkit, which you can apply in so many different ways. So if any of that is of interest to you, then check out the box below and click the link. Lots of love to everybody. My name's Joanna Joy, and I hope you have a great day. Lots of love. Bye-bye.